765432110. Welcome. I once again, or still, am David from PhotoPixel. And I'm beat. It's been a long day. And once again, this is teabag jiggling. Nothing sus. Which you could tell anyway, because the dressing gowns are done up properly. So instead of going to sleep, which is kind of what I feel like doing, I'm going to continue working on this game. So last time I was trying out this graph UI package, got it to successfully draw some lines between some things, and that seems basically adequate for my purpose. I didn't get to making that data model yet. Essentially what I'll have is a serializable data model that represents the graph for the routine that these robots in the game will follow. And if I switch over here, it kind of gives you an idea. They'll do one thing and then something else. And here's the picture of sort of that there would be a concept of how it might look, more or less, or something like this. So that's what I'm working towards making. So I'll have a serializable data model that'll allow it to be saved, that will generate the, that'll be, instead of this linear routine track here, we'll have instead like a branching structure, and that will need to be saved. Well, no, it will need to be able to be saved. I haven't actually implemented any save game at this point, but I probably could once it gets to the point where these routines might be a bit more complicated. But I'll need them to be serialized anyway, so that I can have some like pre-made routines in the bots. There's the chat there. I wonder if I should make that a bit bigger so I notice it. Anyway, I guess without further ado, I might just jump straight back into it. So I think I was still doing some playing around here. So I've got, well, these are some nodes that I just sort of put together by hand in here. And then I've got on here a script that is aware of that container, a prefab for each of these nodes, which are just images with a, well, actually, yeah, to get the bounds right, it's an object with an image nested in it. The important thing is it has a rect transform, which is what is needed by this graph node thing here, graph node component, which is what comes in from that library. And then it's sort of got these connections which live in the connection manager, which are connections between different things. And it looks like that the names of these automatically have the names of the things that are being connected, which is kind of handy. So yeah, so those are the, I might move those because those are the ones that I've got sort of by default that I just hand created, but I now have some code that's manipulating those. Why is this not able to click on that? There we go. To get just the right spot, apparently. Okay, so I'll grab those three and I'll just move them up over there. That should kind of get them out of the way. I wonder if that renders outside of that canvas. Oh wait, where's the canvas? Yeah, the canvas is that size. That's the canvas, isn't it? Canvas, yeah, right there. Okay, so let me just run this. I can show where it was up to last time. I've also got these errors coming up down here. I might get the magnifier going, even though it's not very performant. Let's just slow things down a little bit. And I'll just update my description here. Making a visual node graph. Oh. There we go. I think I can update that. And I am upgrading the routine editor for complex routines, so that'll be happening for a while. All right, so where was I? Yeah, these errors. That's coming from that library. It's a pretty old library. It's from, I think, last published 2016. So quite an old set of scripts, so I might need to do some fixing up on those. It's in create serialized object. And it's in that connection editor. So this is not my script. This is from the library that I got it out of. Yeah, UI graph. It's called on the Unity Asset Store. And this is the editor script, so it's not running at runtime. This one, just at when I'm manipulating stuff in the editor. And I cleared those. And I think it might have been something related to something here. Just not having something that it expects. Anyway, we'll keep that open for later. Is that my one? No, where's my one? Routine Graph Manager. So this is the routine that the robot follows, and so far it's just been linear, but this new one will allow decision points where it can choose different behavior depending on inputs from its sensors, which are going to start out relatively simplistic, just to keep things not complicated. I've also just rearranged this room. Well, maybe like 60% rearranged this room and not put my bin where I could reach it. So I guess I'll just have to eat this tea bag. Or I could just put it there. That should be fine. All right. Sip of tea to begin. I need to decide if that's still worth it. I catastrophically failed at swallowing a tablet the other night. And yeah, swallowing stuff's become quite painful. Well, hopefully it'll just heal up. But probably better go and talk to a medical professional. Someone who's trained in how to treat humans. So that's not me. Right, so yeah, things I was trying. I was able to find a connection between two nodes, I believe. So that should be. So these are the three that are being drawn here. So that's why they're all using this as their like prototype. It's basically I think for some reason I wasn't able to drop an actual prefab in there. I think. Let me try. Right, routine graph. Yeah, I've got this graph node prefab. And then if I were to go to here, is that using that? Oh no, it's not my code actually. That was the problem. Was with the connection manager. If I wanted to have a prefab for a connection, and I tried to make this graph line, that isn't working. Not sure. I'll have to figure out why. Anyway, so yeah, I could realize this will find all the connections. For a thing. For a node. This one finds the connection between two specific nodes, which I've got stored in these rects. It's just vector transforms. So yeah, I've got all of the nodes being stored in there. So get the vector transform, get the node, store it there, and that seems to work. Because they're using the transform that has the node attached to it. And so this is the one here that I was up to. What can I set that color gradient to? Gradient. I don't think color.green is going to work. So I'll just look at the docs for that. Excuse me. There we go. Oops. I zoomed it too much. Yeah, so here we go. We've got the gradient. It represents a gradient used for animating colors. I already have a decent idea about that conceptually. And so yeah, this is like animating or interpolating, and in this case it'll be from one end of the line to the other. By having several color keys and alpha keys. Color keys and alpha keys are separate, and each key has a time specified for it, ranging from 0 to 1 as a floating point number. Note that the alpha and color keys will be automatically sorted by time value, and that it is ensured to always have a minimum of 2 color keys and 2 alpha keys. How they're interpolated depends on the gradient mode. Okay, probably don't need too much of that. I'm just taking this as an opportunity to learn a bit more detail about this. And then I've got a bit of context for what I'm building. Public gradient variables used in scripts automatically display the gradient editor in the inspector window. Ah, that's a good point, actually. I could just make a gradient here. I'm sure they don't have to be public if they're... Is that gradient from Unity Engine? Yes, it is. This will be like alternative line color or something. I probably shouldn't worry too much about naming these sensible things, because I'm just experimenting at this point. But at some point I'll probably want lines, let's say inactive line color, and make another one for Active line color. And I'm wondering, like at the moment, basically, with this routine editor, if I close that, if I select a bot here, you'll see the step of the routine. The lines in between don't really do anything. I'm not sure whether I'm going to highlight the lines in some way. Or I could even kind of animate the lines by having a gradient that has a moving bit that moves over time in it, if I wanted to. So to show like something's flowing from one routine step to the next. So that's interesting. But yeah, at this point, let's select another one, or select one of these, and you'll be able to see. Oh, I can't select the enemies anymore, that's right. I changed that. There, so you can just see it stepping through routine. I could give them a different routine to follow. So yeah, I think active is more like this is the path it would take, and it wouldn't take that path. Maybe make a neutral one as well, but 2's enough for now. Just let that compile, and then I'll be able to set those gradients. Won't need to create them programmatically. Here we go. I think we're back to this, and I think that could be partly because I set up some things by hand and then deleted something. Cannot implicitly convert. Oh yeah, that's that there. Oh, which might mean that I now can't set those things because I should have just commented that out. There we go. Let that compile properly. Meanwhile, not that, this one. Cool, so we can do a new gradient and colors. We've got a gradient color key, an array of 2 gradient color keys, and they're being set to red and blue at 1 and at 0 and 1. And alpha keys, same thing, except going from 1 to 0. And then we've got a set keys. Cool, gradient.evaluate. So that's basically like a interpolate along this gradient. That's pretty cool. So you can call that. So you could have something that changes color over time, scripted with a gradient, and then just use gradient.evaluate with the proportion of time that has passed. So that would give you where through the gradient something should be. So that's nice. So yeah, it's just set keys. You need gradient color keys and gradient alpha keys in arrays. Nice. Okay, that should have finished cooking by now. Let's take a look. Here are those line colors. So I've got the gradient editor here, so inactive. I might even go, I was going to go with just black, but could go red. Yeah, let's just go with black actually for that. Inactive, and then active. I'll make it this green. That'll do. Okay, so now I should be able to do here is instead of green, we do just active line color. So that'll set that. That's kind of all I wanted to do for the moment. With that thing. And it looks like the next thing I wanted to do is figure out how to drag the end of a connection from one thing to another. So this is what I'll need when editing the routine, you'll need a way to say, I want to connect that node onto that other node somehow. And that'd be good to figure out roughly how to do. Now these have that's that problem that was happening before, right? Here, so it's trying to just say unenable target transforms equals serialized object okay, object being inspected dot find property target. And object at index 0 is null. So this should be happening when something in particular is inspected. So what if I inspect that? That's fine. This, no problem. That one seems okay. Connection manager, it's fine. This graph node seems fine. And that one seems fine. So none of those seem to have a problem with selecting them. Was it something about the prefab? So that didn't cause anything there, did it? It's a bit of a puzzle. Let me try moving these, just to show that. It'd be nice to figure out why that's generating an error. If I can figure out which thing has the problem. Doesn't seem to be happening there. I wonder if it's just when I'm doing something in particular. All right, let's see. So it's find property target. Might need to read up on some stuff to fix that. All right. What am I doing? I need to pin that on there so that I keep finding it. Oh yeah, I was just running that to check that the line color works, wasn't I? Oopsie. Don't want to do that. Maybe it's when I have multiple selected. And then I move them. Nope. Multiple of those. No, it doesn't seem to matter. Oh. There we go. It hits it at runtime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've only got 6 things that are meant to be graph nodes. Unity editor.create serialized object. Which is coming from get serialized object. Do we know which one it was? Every single time it's a 78FE30, so on. Is that the address of the object? No, I think I better ignore that for the moment and just have a look here. So it looks like that did not seem to work. Maybe it needs to like redraw the line somehow. So like maybe when this moves, that should be redrawing those lines. There's this line here that should be redrawing. I should look over here in the scene. Okay, so we've got, they're named none, which is interesting. These were made with create connection. So that should be that happening on start. So we've got our line renderer here, and its color is right here. And that is clearly, wait, let's just check what active line color is set to. Yeah, active line color should be this green color. So I did do that right. Do you have to maybe redraw it? But I guess if it was related to redrawing, then moving the thing would probably break it. I mean, not break it. It should show the color when you move the node. Let's just grab that line here. And just go log out the color gradient. Now, let's say that property has a get and set. I've also got like a set colors. Deprecated. Line renderer.set colors start end. I might look at the docs for line renderer as well. Here's the manual. Yeah, that's not what I want. I want it in the scripting API. Color gradient. Set the color gradient describing the color of the line at various points along its length. And not mentioning set colors in here, probably because it is deprecated. Oh. Just wonder if there's a reason why you couldn't call that. Yeah, set the color gradient. All right, so in start, get component line renderer. Oh, I wonder whether, there's an issue with, because this is all happening in start, it's maybe not allowed that connections line renderer to be properly set up or something. I'll look into that. So anyway, we've got the line renderer. We've got the material being found. Got some positions here for the line. And set positions. Creating a gradient with some keys in it. And then they're just doing color gradient dot line renderer dot color gradient equals gradient. So yeah. Interesting. The fact that that's being named none, those connections are being named none to none. I wonder if that's related to the nodes not being kind of ready yet. But we're not getting a null pointer exception here, so it is finding a connection. Okay, we've got exact amount enabled, it's valid. I wonder if there's anything special in here. I'm going to comment that out and see if it changes the changes anything here. That's another possibility, is that there's something going wrong related to that error that I've been seeing. It'd be nice if I could just have like a little debug console that I could just write code in. Because I'd kind of love to have like the ability to just go set things. Did that not set? Maybe it is setting and then maybe it's being overwritten. What if I just capture that? And then do this in update. And then not run that for very long. Just for a moment. Text initial gradient. Just there. And then I'll just grab it straight after that has happened. And then we'll get it on update. So let that compile. Oh, Mega Killer, hello. Trying to do today, basically I'm just continuing to play around with this library. How many of these did I get? Oh, interesting. Okay, that's stuff I was already getting. I am getting these errors here. 10 this time. That's more than before. So I'm not sure exactly why they're happening. It's like trying to deserialize the target of something. It seems to happen when it transitions into or out of play mode. So I'm not sure what its deal is there. But I just got a little bit of debug logging to try and get a picture of what's going on with these color gradients. So I'm basically just trying to see, can I set a line, set the color of a line. Now, that is not very useful. It's here we got those errors happening again. Got my initial gradient, and it's just Unity engine.gradient. Not very useful. To string, I assume it already would have gone through to string to get there. Color keys, let's just grab the color keys. I think that will be good enough to let us know what's going on, hopefully. But I suspect maybe it could be related to that error, and that's a downside of using such an old library. Something might have been deprecated and moved along, so I may need to kind of just fix it. Need to check the license of it to make sure that it's okay to modify it and use it modified. Otherwise, I could probably make my own. Oh, need to pause. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm being told that I have a color key array. All right, I'm just going to do the real debugging. Let's get rid of. I'll leave that there. And just put a breakpoint there, and attach to Unity. Let's take a look. Okay. I guess at this point we're paused. And just need to let those compile with debugging enabled, I think. because it's not kind of make or break for an initial implementation of the graph to have control over the colors of the lines. Would be useful. I do need a way to control what they're connected to. And I would like it to be kind of grabbing the end of the line by some kind of handle and moving it, or having like a point at the like some kind of attachment point that you can sort of click and drag, and that will sort of show a connection, and then you can drop it onto an appropriate place. Now we compiled here, hopefully. So yeah, that was the thing here. Figure out how to drag the end of a connection. All right. Now we stopped here and we've got line 1. So it's none clone. So that is it's actually not shown up in the connection manager yet. It's only just created. It's got its color gradient, and the color keys in that are an array of 2 things. We got basically black, opaque black at 0, and opaque black later on. And that is what I expect because it's black by default. So then we take a step. Okay, we're trying to set this to active color. Oh yeah, active line. Color here. Should have some color keys that are green. So we got a bit of red, lots of green, no blue. And 1 alpha, and same color. And that's at time 0 and time 1. So that should be it. The alpha keys, that should just be opaque all the way through, I would think. So yeah, 1 at time 0, and still 1 at time 1. So that is what I expect. Now let's just take a step and see, did it take? Yep, that looks correct. And it says that. Okay, I'll let it continue to here. Okay, we jumped over to update. And we still got line 1. And looks like we've got the expected colors there. It still hasn't actually drawn anywhere here. So let's continue again. All right. Now we're actually, at this point, they've changed to 0. So they hadn't actually shown up in the hierarchy yet. And it took a few updates before they did. And why would that be? So find connection presumably worked. So I instantiated these and got the components. So I think I would like to know if the component is active. So let's just stop that there. That is not the key shortcut I wanted. All right, let me just unlock that thing. Okay, now I don't know what happened to the stream there. Oh, Alien Romulus. That sounds like it would be a movie in the Alien franchise, but I don't know. I definitely haven't seen it. It's a movie from this year. Yeah, it's really hard to find time to actually go see movies. But that definitely looks worth seeing. Pretty classic alien themology looking thing there. I haven't seen any trailers for this, but I would definitely go see that straight away if I weren't so tired. Excellent, stream still live. Yes, I accidentally locked the computer, so I don't think that would stop the stream from happening. I'm just wasn't sure whether it was streaming while I was not able to see the screen. Right, so basically what I want to know here is I want to check like active self and active in hierarchy. Just see what we get. There, so we're going to need a break there. And just see what the issue is here. So I suspect it might be something to do with how the connection manager gets the lines to draw or something. That's really going to get annoying. I should have been ready to pause that straight away. Okay. So we get our usual set of exceptions. And then we're at the initial gradient thingy. But basically here, active self, yes. Active in hierarchy, yes. And so yeah, apparently it does consider itself to be active. Let's just make a t equals 0 and then do like t equals delta time and then we'll try if t is greater than a second, do that. So basically just try to set it with a delay and that should be basically fine. Don't see any reason that that wouldn't be sufficient. These are useless. They're not actually giving us any information. Oh. It's going to set it every frame after 1 second. So there we go, we'll get our old T. If the old T is less than 1F, and the new T is greater than or equal to 1, then we'll do that. Let's not do that, just there. Okay, time for a little test. It's a bit annoying if I have to wait some kind of delay before it's possible to do anything with it. So standard for components, I can usually set stuff on components as soon as they're instantiated. So I probably need to check how that connection manager is instantiating these things. Is it kind of giving its own internal state of what connections there are and then creating the nodes after the fact? Don't know. It looks like we're still running here, and presumably it did set that, but it doesn't look like it's changed it. Okay, well, let me look at this connection manager here. So it's a connection manager script. There we go. Let's open that script up and have a look what's going on. Why would it do that? And what have I called on there too? Probably could have just done that by here when we create this connection. So that's the connection that it's creating. So we got those transforms. If there's no instance, it returns. Well, the connections are being created in start, so there must be an instance. Okay, we've got a connection. If there's a connection prefab, then it instantiates that. Otherwise, it makes a new game object called new connection and adds a connection component to that. And it sets targets T1 and T2. So that doesn't look too complicated. Looks like I have a connection prefab. So I have that. But it would just create it and then call set targets. What's set targets do? So we are in a script called connection. We're calling set targets, and it just sets a couple of values in this target array, which is here. Okay. We've got our points. We've also got the line renderer. If not line equals get component line renderer. Turn line. Okay. Is anything using underscore line instead of regular line? Anyway, that's the line that I get, the line renderer. So it's just internally when I call line here, it is just doing that. There. It's literally just going, if we don't have a line, then set it to that and return it. Okay, it is valid. What's match? This is just checking if there's a connection either way between something. That contains to check if one of the targets is get index. Oh yeah, the index. Whether it's the start or the end of the line. Invalidate. Organize transforms, update name, update curve. What about those two? On awake, it adds itself to connection manager. Something I haven't tried. I haven't tried just getting like not caching that line so much as just do something more like, oh, we don't have those rects either. So I'm just going to move these guys out of here to here. We can't instantiate those there, so we'll just bring those back down here. Define them down here, but we'll just declare them up there. Yeah, I think it would be like copyright infringement if it wasn't from the Alien franchise. So I think there surely must be one or two of the like more recent, like last 20 years Alien movies I haven't seen. Life just got very busy and then kind of didn't keep up a lot with movies. I'm trying to remember if I've seen like Alien vs Predator. It's not the kind of movie that people are usually keen to make sure you watch. But yeah, they're definitely way up there on favorite movies. Nostalgic. Fun. Now, what am I doing now? Okay, got those things there. Now I'm able to do that. And let's just change that to be 2. I'll change all that to 2 just so it's different from that stuff up there. And once again, let's do the same thing as that. But we'll do that line 2. All right, so it might have just been that what we got back didn't represent the current line renderer somehow, because things were, especially if the line hasn't like finished being rendered or something. Being registered with the connection manager, I mean, so that when the connection manager has find connection called on it, I could probably put all that stuff in there so I'm not spamming finding that every single frame. Okay, definitely seeing a distinct lack of that changing color at all. What if I try and do it manually, like not use this method to find the line renderer? But I'm still not sure about whether it's being like overwritten. Because like we've got a way to get the line renderer. And then is line being called anywhere here? Yeah, update curve. There's no line renderer return. If it's not valid, then disable that. And then start and end active. Okay. So we're basically setting it enabled true. Okay, so anytime update curve is called, then this thing's going to set colors. So it's like that deprecated. The obsolete, use start color, end color, or color gradient instead. But it's doing something. If the start's active, but the end isn't, then it's basically going some color to clear gradient. And it's going from clear to the color of 0.1. And it's going from 0.0 to 0.1 color. So what's this points? Where's points coming from? Probably should look in the manual for this thing. Okay, here. Into targets, plural. Yes, interesting. Well, it's only been like 8 years. Surely they'll do that eventually. Okay, so we've got these connection point things. Okay, so what I'm seeing from this, though, is that if I were to grab, say, this node and make it not active, doesn't seem to quite be doing what I would have expected from that code. I was just seeing, actually, what's the, what kind of active are we talking about here? Interesting. Okay, so update curve. So what about is valid? Here. Is the game object active in hierarchy? So if it's not, so I think I just set that end to not active. we go. So now anytime update curve is called, I should get a log there. If they're both inactive, then it's not enabled. Otherwise, we should be getting set colors from points 0.color to color.clear. Anyway, I think that solves the mystery of the colors. And then the connection points. All right, so this is a connection point. Points. It just has those 2 points. Do they ever get replaced? Organize transforms. Okay, that's the thing that's actually setting the names, is it? Well, update name is. Anyway, so that's just swapping the connection points. Setting the colors. It doesn't seem like anything ever happens to change the color of those, other than the code we just saw. Connection point. We got directions, color. So I think I need to actually, to change the color, I think I need to get those connection points and mess with them. Getting a bunch of trues from those things. So while that's getting started, let's have a look here. So we've got that, but okay, that might work. Yep, active, and this was just an experiment where I was going to get that one and set it to not active. Did we start to get a false on the end of there at some point? All right, I should clear that. Let it go. True, false. So we go true, false. And then we go like that. And true. So even though it sort of seems like that should be drawing something that goes from black to clear, it wasn't. Anyway, let's stop that. I could make aliens fight these robots. Just have a bunch of them coming out of here. Well, the factories would need to be kind of encrusted with alien stuff. Alright. That debug log's going to get annoying. So I'll just click here to make it go away. Not listening to my click. There we go. There we go. Okay. We have successfully set the color of a line. So that's good. I have a way to do that. Could be green to green. Finding all the connections for something might be useful. Okay, how can I drag the end of a connection now? Am I going for time? This has been a tired just playing around stream. But if I can figure this out, then I think that'd be a really good step, because then I'm basically ready to start building something that allows actually joining things up without it being a super clunky thing where you click something and press a button to join onto something. I guess it wouldn't have to be that clunky. Like, could have this thing, you click it to like select it, and it might have, well, you might not even have to click that. There might just be like, if it had two outputs, then you hover one of them, it would be some kind of like, connection with a dot thing, and you click on it, and then it maybe shows a dotted line or something to the cursor, and then when you're hovering the input of something, you sort of click it again. Or the same thing with click and drag would work. Oh, okay, interesting. What I just thought of is you could kind of have like a thing coming out which has got the plug on the end. Let me draw this. Yeah. Let me grab a color. Are you hiding my colors? Yes, you are. They're there. GQ magnifier. All right. So what color do we want? Let's go with this color. So basically, we could have something along the lines of, find a little bit of space. Here we go. We've got our thing that can have a connection, and it maybe has like a little thing coming out of there, connecting onto this, which is like your plug that can plug into somewhere. And same thing here. Wouldn't have to be quite so skeuomorphic as looking like an actual power socket or something, but whatever it is, it's your thing. Maybe it looks more like a Cat5 cable or something. Point is, this line here could already be a connection from this onto this thing. And then is it just me, or is that like slightly green? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so you just drag this to whatever you're going to connect it onto, and then when you drop it, or as you're dragging it, it'll keep that connection going to there, and when you drop it, it can just connect this onto that thing. And then you probably just need a way to break the connection by clicking on something. So yeah, I think that would work well, because it means that the line's already there connected to something, and then so this thing here would just need to be drag and droppable. So cool. That's good. That kind of figures out an approach for that. So sweet. Got myself a working curve thingy. Move that up, we can move that across. And that is working fine. What else can I do? Yes, can I set the for the starting point? I'll see if I could just move that down a little bit. I'm just basically building up a little set of code examples. Okay, so that's setting color. This was, I just forgot what I just said 3 seconds ago. So that was more like 4 seconds. So I think that's fair enough. Yeah, position. So let's do 2 things here. Good flavor. You say, hey, I'm 23. I'm a QA tester at this moment. I really want to become a game developer, but I do not know where to start. Can you give me any type of advice? Thanks. Yeah, well, it kind of depends what you already know, but the first thing to do is take what you know and see what you can make with it. If you don't know any coding, you can still make games. I've kind of rearranged the room a bit, but somewhere back there's a bag that I have, and it's just like some kind of leather bag that I like the look of, and it's full of just a bunch of index cards, and it's got a little photo trimming guillotine in there, some pens and stuff, and I use it to make card games, or prototypes of card games, some of which I probably need to put together into printable things because they're at that stage where I want to iterate more rapidly for a few of them. So yeah, you can kind of make something at least without anything. But I think there's, rather than me go into all of the detail, probably the biggest, if you can make one or multiple games from start to finish, that's probably going to be the best learning experience. Doing it with other people who know how to already is probably really good, but not necessary. The main thing is to develop games from start to finish. You've got to keep the scope really, really small, and really just try and do the simplest things. The simplest possible game you can think of is good. A game where you have to see how many times you can click the button, and it tells you how many times you click the button, and then you win when you've clicked it enough times. It's probably not very replayable, but it is something that is shaped like a game, and something that you can probably make without too much knowledge. And yeah, I mean, there's also a lot my main hurdle to making and releasing games is not it's basically twofold. One, I have ADHD. I was very late diagnosed, so I didn't know that, and that basically kind of makes it really difficult to follow through with long-term goals. Usually things go fine for a while, and then as soon as something derails things, you get sick for a couple of weeks or something, it's sort of, you can just completely forget that you were working on something. Anyway, yeah, I think this develop.games kind of has a yeah, it's got like a bunch of useful stuff here. Stuff about tools, skills, financing, which is something I kind of haven't even really delved into. Mainly just to keep things relaxed and make my money with my day job at the moment, and keep the game development fun. I would love if the game development just got sufficient income and I could just focus on that. But yeah, I think this is probably a good place to start and get an overview. And it also kind of depends. Oh yeah, let's have a look. Basic knowledge of C#, cool. I don't know about Unity being better than Godot. Like, I haven't tried Godot, but I've heard good things about it. So definitely, like, it may depend on what you're making as well. So, like, I've primarily been making 2D games, and I have a feeling that a different engine would be a better fit, because Unity sort of seems mostly geared towards 3D. But if I was making a serious big 3D game, I'd probably reach for Unity engine. But yeah, you can kind of read through and read about that here, because they probably give you more balanced overview than I can, given my level of experience. Yeah, having more tutorials can be good. You also got to be careful, because you can spend a lot of time just watching tutorials and not trying to make anything, or watching tutorials, making what the tutorials make. And then because you haven't kind of challenged yourself to come up with something, you're kind of learning a bit about how to do some things, but not learning how to like figure out how to do things. So tutorials, how to do particular features, can be really handy when you're trying to figure out, when you get to the point you mean, like, I want to do this. I've maybe had a bit of a go at it myself and didn't get it working. Now let me find someone who's done that. But I guess also, you say you've got some knowledge of C#. If that's the only language that you've got some knowledge of, then that might be a good place to start to leverage that. If you know other languages as well, then that might kind of open up things. But it does, I think, make sense to start with, like, unless you're just generally wanting to make any game and learn how to make games in general. If you've got an idea what type of game you want to make, if you've got a particular game you want to make, then it might be good to start with that and then figure out what engine. I'm already on the engines page. What engine is kind of, or engines are the best fit. Sprite's a nice little program. It's not a game engine, though. Just for pixel art. Cool. I should check out some of these things. Right, I'd gone past engines and got to art programs. Interesting that Unity's not even on the list here. But yeah, there we go. That's what I was trying to say. Just a bit more concise, because this has been edited, whereas the things that I say do not go through any editing process. Not even in my head. It's just like brain to mouth, direct connection. I know what I'm going to say when I say it. Yeah, choose an engine that supports your style of game and your financial situation. That's another thing, actually. Like, while you're learning, it's probably not too relevant looking at the financial side of things. But like with Unity, I haven't looked at it lately, but essentially, if your game starts to make a certain amount of money, then you're supposed to give some of it to Unity. I'm not sure. Not sure on the latest of that, but like take a look at things like that. If you're just making things to learn, then you're usually not going to hit the thresholds for having to share some of your income from games with the engine maker. But still good to know. I think Godot, that doesn't say best, it says beast. I think Godot is completely free, which is a good thing. Like free and open source. I really, really love the concept of open source. I worked. Oh yeah, there you go. I think if I was getting $1 million a year from games, I could probably quit my day job. Any course I can suggest? I haven't done a course for a while. I did one on Coursera a while ago. And by a while ago, I mean like 10 years. But yeah, Godot, free and open source. That's really good. I used to work for an open source company, Red Hat. And yeah, I love open source and the concept of it. I did learn sort of over time the big downside of open source, which is if you don't have a company that is bringing in money based on something, then that can kind of really limit the usability and the maintenance of things. So I think in practice, open source that is sponsored by big companies that are bringing in money tends to be kind of the best. It's basically you need enough people using something, either because there's money in it, or money in something that's based on it, or it's going to be it's going to live or die based on how enthusiastic the community of people maintaining it are. No console support out of the box. Okay. I wouldn't not release a game on console, but I also don't see myself releasing a game on console anytime soon, so that probably wouldn't be too big a deal. Does Godot support building for mobile platforms like Android and iOS? Because that's the main thing that I use Unity for building towards, other than just for desktop. Yeah, it's like you either hire a company to port your game or you rebuild your game in another engine. Cool, there you go. Aha. So it sounds like you have a particular game that you have in mind to make, which is sort of, I can't just have one game idea, because I can't turn off that part of my brain that comes up with game ideas. So it's kind of like, what are the top several at the moment? I do have one big one that I think would be really fun to make, but I'm sort of holding myself back from that at the moment because I've got 2 other games that are partially made and a bunch of other games that are also like prototype stage. And yeah, the one I have in mind that's probably like at least a year of full-time development, so it would take quite a long time for me to make if I'm just doing 3 streams a week. Dark environments. Cry of Fear. Let me look at that one. The same things that. That's immediately making me think of Penumbra. And there was another game that was by the same people. Yeah. It was kind of dark and they did a really good job with like the sounds to sort of increase the tension, like with the breathing of the character when an enemy was nearby that you need to hide from. There was something a bit broken, I think, where you could, it was like a really scary enemy, but you could just kind of hide in the right kind of corner and it couldn't get you and you could poke it. But that was, I think, a pretty small game, was it? I don't know. I played it a long time ago now. You sort of, I think you're exploring a abandoned underground-ish facility in the snow somewhere that stopped hearing back from, or something like that. I don't know if I've played that one, but it is by Frictional Games, and they have probably got some games. And then I'll be able to, yeah, Amnesia. That's the other one. I wonder how many of these. I definitely haven't played those more recent ones because I haven't had that much time for a while, but I think I've played this. And yeah, again, pretty nice dark environment. And I'd imagine these would be similar. Yeah. I have some things that these would run on. Need to add those to the list. I always have a lot of work to do. So, yeah. You need to leave for a meeting. I probably should get going. Yeah. I might just have a quick fiddle with whatever I was doing here, setting the position of the connection before I sign out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I love kind of just talking about stuff, helping people. So I don't mind if I only get half of what I was planning done on my stream, if there's interesting stuff to talk about. But I definitely should get this a little further along because it will get frustrating if I'm just fiddling with this for too long and I don't get to actually implementing stuff. But yeah, I think maybe I'll just add a few items on here that done. So yeah, get basic connections working. Set color connections. Really, your color. This must be set to US English if it's trying to correct that. Trying to set position. Position. That's like a position of poison. I got this set on show or hide. Completed items. Hide. Oh, can I set on show? Anyway. Okay, so I want to set the position of connections and I want to do that thing. Something like that. Okay, so set position. That should be 0.0 dot. Okay. So we've got color, we've got direction. I think I'll leave that one connected onto the east. That's a good point, actually. When I've created these connections, I don't think I've done anything to choose what side they're from. Make position. What kind of position values do we get here? I think that's the connection position. Oh, yeah, I've got this selected here, so it's basically between -1 and 1. Okay, cool. So there we go. That should move. Should move it to the bottom corner of that. And let's move that point on the end to north. What kind of thing is this connection direction? North. And then we'll move it to the far left. So again, it'll be a -1 for position 1. There we go. So that should prove that I can move those positions around. Whoa, cool. Yep, that kind of worked, kind of, except for the bit where the size of this that doesn't like line up properly with that, but that's fine. That's just because I haven't got it sized properly for what's in it. So if I do that, then that is more like what I was doing. And yeah, same for that thing. Yeah, okay. Well, I think I'll go for this end connection drag thingy by making something that's draggable. So let me just fix this thing up too. Just trying to get that kind of just right-ish. I want. There we go. And that should hopefully fix up like everything that's using this as its thingy. All right. So just make a. We've got here, we got a circle. A little circle to use as the draggable thingy. Yeah, that's my circle. That circle is really tiny. Still extremely tiny. Okay, let me just see what's that about. We had position, size, scale. Okay. It's like about 80 or so we'd get underneath here. That's way too big. 40. I'll do 35. That'll be about right. All right, now, does that? Oh, yeah, there we go. Oops. Now, what's with the Z position on this thing? That one's 0. Can this one be 0? That's better. And then that one's 0 relative to that, so that's fine. Okay, so we've got this circle, and let's instead call that connection point. Go, and let's give that a different color. Let's make it like some kind of reddish color maybe, or orange, dirty orange, clean orange. Yep, let's make it that saturated orange when it is not connected to something. And put that there, I think. So basically going to create a connection point where each connection should be. Connect from the graph node connection point. Now drag and drop. Connection point. And then that will so we can basically snap connection point back to position on drop. Not on target. And then add like drop point. Like for input. And then if change the connection, go to the target node, on drop, G, make it work the other way around too. Drag from input to related output. So basically, if I get all those things working, then I've basically got the sort of core tooling for being able to build up the graph, or being able to connect points together. So then it's just a matter of adding the nodes, and that would be a bit like what I've already got here for the connection editor. I've got a palette of actions that can be dragged to, well, in this case, they can be dragged onto here, but really it would just need to be like a button that will add one, or something that lets you drag an action or a decision node for a different sensors or something from wherever the set of commands is onto here, and then you can sort of use this stuff to connect it up, and then just something to delete things and so on. Okay, so I'm going to call this. Wait, I think it'll need a. This is going to be a draggable icon of some sort. Now I have these in my blueprint editor. So there's the blueprint editor. And in my melt point diagram, parts manifest has these guys here. So that is a, oh, I think that creates draggable icon. So that'll be using a prefab. I've got a draggable robo part. Doesn't look like it itself is a drag icon thing. Anyway, point is it's got an image, it's got that script, and seems to be all it needs. So it does not seem to have a collider. Don't think I need one. What about the mount points? So we've got a mount point there. And we get a drop target. There, but I think it's the mount point script here. That's the key. So I think it's just having a Rex transform and a drop handler. Is all it needs. Right. I'm not trying to fill in all that info before I even get to A, but so let's see, mount point. So for drag and drop. Also don't like the draggable rubber part. I don't want to wait for you to compile. I was just trying to pop open the script for that. Oh, hey. Yeah, sure. One more question. No. It's never too late to start. Really. I mean, unless you wanted to get something finished by the time you're 24. No, I am not twice your age, but I'm not that far off it. I did start a long time ago, but yeah, 23 is young. And there's probably going to be someone who's 80 who'd say I was young too. Maybe not. Maybe they'll remember back to when everything starts breaking for no reason. Like in the biology of a human. But yeah, no. I think as we go on, people are having like increasingly many careers. Like, 100 years ago, people probably have one, maybe two careers. Two was probably rare. This is just kind of stuff I've heard in conversations and that kind of thing. So take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, someone my age, like we're going to have several different careers. Like I'm a qualified veterinarian, but I've been like a full stack developer, front end developer. Hopefully, there's a actual game dev career in there somewhere, and who knows what else? What else I might end up doing? So yeah, I don't think 23 is young to start on something. The only thing about being 23 as opposed to any other, like to being younger, is the older you get, generally the harder it gets to make extra time for things. But a lot of that's down to what choices you make in life, how much responsibility you take on in addition to the sort of bare minimum of keeping yourself alive. See, I do React in my day job. It's like most of my development. I like it. It's maybe getting a little old. I mean, it keeps changing. maybe getting a little old for just for it to be interesting. The novelty's worn off somewhat. But on the other hand, having a lot of experience with something means that I can do it as my day job without having to invest a whole bunch of time outside of work hours to keep up with it. And so that means that I can take my time out of work hours and use some of it for this. I would use a lot more of it for this, but there are other things going on in my life. And yeah, and all I need is a computer and the ability to type. So I'm not going to be able to make games anytime. I think my ability to make games will be hopefully one of the last things that I lose. Or I just never will. Because of course, I'll just get all my parts replaced with robot parts as they fail until I'm just completely a robot. And then I can just, as long as I maintain and replace the robot parts as needed, I'll just live forever. So that's a handy, convenient way to not have to face your own mortality. So yeah, 2023, it's all the same. We'll all end up being robots in the end. Maybe. Who knows? How would I start learning programming if I was beginning? Interesting. I started learning programming a bit at school, and this is like a long time ago, so it's just Logo Writer and some like Visual Basic stuff, things like that. And that was sort of how I discovered that there was this thing, and it was fun and interesting. But I think my first like proper programming, where I was actually trying to really make something real, was scripting objects for a game called Creatures. It was the second one, so Creatures 2. And wait a minute, I have the internet. I have the ability to do stuff. Now, I don't have stats on how many hours I played it for. But it's basically a little artificial life simulation. You've got your little different creatures, Norns, Ettins, Grendels. They're kind of the main creatures that you look after. And you sort of teach them to speak. They're really cool because they have like simulated biology. Like they've got simulated blood chemistry and stuff like that. And they have little neural network brains, and they actually learn through reward and punishment by strengthening and weakening connections between neurons in their brains. So it's kind of, I like it a lot because of the cute little creatures. That's fun. And because of, well, I think the programming element of it, where I was basically just making things like a tree that makes fruit that they can eat, and a toy that they can play with, things like that. But also the kind of biochemistry and neural network stuff, sort of hitting a lot of my areas of interest. So yeah, that was sort of one of the earlier things I did, and I think that kind of got my head into the object-oriented programming space. And so I don't know if it's just because of my particular style of brain, the particular autistic traits that I have that make me see things differently from a lot of people, or if it was that early experience or what. But when others were, I think, seemed to be struggling with grasping object-oriented programming as compared to procedural programming, I didn't struggle with that. But who knows? But yeah, that's so basically trying to do something that you want to do, and if using the programming is what will get you there, that can be a good way to start. But man, there's so many tutorials and things. I studied computer science a bit, and that can be really useful. Like I can tell the difference generally if we get a new member of my team. It stands out somewhat if they're self-taught versus if they studied, because there's a bunch of stuff that you learn in a structured course that you kind of can get by without, but it's much easier to get by with it because it gives you sort of frameworks for stepping back and looking at things, and a whole bunch of patterns that you can apply to problems that are kind of conceptually they've already been solved in a broad sense, and so then you just need to apply, like if you can recognize here's this pattern, then you can just sort of write code that does the standard thing for that pattern rather than having to figure out everything from scratch. Yeah, the fear, it seems intimidating because programming is the kind of thing where there's layers to it, and you kind of, as you learn each layer, you get a few layers in, and you kind of forget that the layers a few layers back were challenging. And so yeah, you kind of just keep building and building and building. But yeah, I think for C#, probably good to understand the basic concepts, like how the type system works. There's some stuff about the language, how the different types of numbers work. Like here, I've got floating point numbers here. And if I wanted a double precision floating point, so it's basically taking up twice as much memory, allowing you to get down to much finer decimal places. I could do that. You can't implicitly convert. And so C# will convert between different types implicitly. Like if I just do it without the F there, that's an integer. And you can see the type for that is system.int32. But we're setting it here into this float. I just started pointing with my finger because if I move the cursor, actually I can, yeah, there we go. So this is a floating point. But you can convert from an integer to a floating point easily because one as an integer is 1.000, whatever. So it'll do that, but you can't convert from a double to a float because you lose precision. You can't implicitly convert it. You can explicitly convert it. You basically say, yes, I do want to convert this to this. I'm not just accidentally passing in something that's wrong. Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of a mix, right? You wouldn't just read books, but if you just practice with no guidance, that's not so great. Clean Code is a good book to read at some point, probably not when you're first learning, getting started. It's quite an old book. Some of the specifics of it are a bit archaic, but it's useful in that it, I think, gets across quite well the concept of making sure that your code can be read and understood properly, so that you don't introduce bugs by like changing stuff that was confusing. Is that a good way of putting it? I don't know. That's kind of most of my job at the moment is just reviewing other people's code, teaching them how to, or pointing out changes they can make and teaching them how to do things in better ways in the future, like for the future code, that make it so that someone else reading that code, can understand it. Dream company to work at? Well, that's a tricky one. I mean, if we rule out a company where I work for one day, tasting ice cream and then get paid $1 billion and then never have to work again, let's rule that one out, because I'm pretty sure that's not the. I think you want like a realistic company. Yeah, interesting. I think somewhere where I could basically take every game idea that I have and have a bunch of talented people around me, especially, artists, other developers, writers, and so on, and explore, with prototypes, etc., to figure out how fun or not they might be, or what's there, and then be able to take the best ones and develop them through to playable. I think I tend to do best with the sort of earlier prototyping stage and with the design side of things, like so the player interactions and so on. When it gets to the later stages of development, where it's just kind of like tedious grind, I don't do so well there. So, yeah, I think if I was in a place like that, where I could basically play to my strengths and do the stuff I enjoy the most all the time, that'd be great. Right now, I've got a lot of like grown-up responsibilities, so having a lot of flexibility is important for me. So that's kind of something I've chosen in my day job. I've got something, like a job that I can not have to like put all of my energy for the day into that job, because I need energy to do other things that same day. So that's kind of important. That's going to vary over time, basically. If I'm doing something I really love, then to the extent that I've got space in my life to do, one thing consistently, then yeah, kind of like that. But it'd be great to just work 3 days a week or something, and then the rest of it just whatever I feel like, as well. But then again, I don't think that's describing an ideal company necessarily. But the other thing is, like with ADHD, I'll get to that one in a second. I basically work best when I'm working with others on something. So basically, if there's someone else who's got kind of the long-term vision and can sort of keep things on track for some kind of goal, so that I can focus in on what's happening right now, then that works really well. It kind of drains a lot of my energy trying to do the long-term planning for, like, what's going to happen a year from now, that kind of thing. It's like I exist in the moment to a large extent. So, yeah. So I guess actually really also just like making projects that go for like 3 to 6 months or something. That doesn't necessarily mean that the full development of games would take that amount of time, but I think sort of if I worked on something for 3 to 6 months, sort of getting it off the ground and the project going, and then could kind of step back, go do the same thing with another project, and just sort of check back in from time to time as the development's kind of being fleshed out. That'd be good. I tend to tend to enjoy things a bit more when I can move around a bit through different things, different projects, even different roles from time to time, and kind of help people wherever it's needed around a team. And do I have a community group chat or Discord or something somewhere? No, not yet. I will probably set that up at some point. But for now, it's basically just this chat when I'm streaming. And I mean, part of that is pretty much because I've carved out some time when I'm doing my game development and streaming, and that's not easy to carve out that time. And if I had a chat that was going on at other times, then that'd be a bit dangerous for me to get too distracted from other things, like my day job, for example. So I probably will set it up at some point, because I've got several people who are regularly watching the stream, and so they're starting to feel more worth that effort. Wouldn't be so rewarding to set something up and be the only member of it for a while. So I should write that I'm going to write that on a post-it. I have a lot of post-its around, but I do kind of have a regular schedule every couple of weeks of trying to go through and sort of create some kind of sanity. The advantage of this changed layout, now I can reach this wall here where I stick my post-its, but I can't get to that bit there where I've stuck some of them. I need to move that fish tank somewhere. Oh. Yeah, that'd be great. I think it's hard right now, just with I want more time. I want more free time. I mean, I always want more time, but I really miss having free time where I didn't have to just do something to make myself have some time for something. It was just automatic. It's amazingly valuable. So yeah, I used to actually keep up with my emails because I was just at my computer and didn't have any particular task that needed doing. Right, what was I doing here? Oh yeah, I was just starting with this thing. I think I better wrap up though, because I need sleep. And yeah, especially actually something that's really fun if you haven't done it. Once you've got a little bit of ability to put together some things for a game, or even if you don't have anything, you can just kind of find something to do. Just find a game jam that either something that's happening physically where you are or something online. It's an event. It might go for anywhere between 1 and 7 days, or I think some of them are longer, like a month or something. You just get a theme, come up with something, throw it together, and you can sort of just join without a group and find some people to work with. That's probably a good way to just connect with other people who are making something. You can just join in whatever capacity you can, which might just be making some artwork or something. You don't have to be fantastic at it because it's like people are just putting together something really quick. So you don't expect. There's not a lot of pressure to make something amazing because there's only so much you can do in a day or two. Cool. I'm happy to help. It's always kind of makes it feel like all of the talking is worthwhile. Now, yeah, I think I definitely better leave this for now because I should have gone to bed by now. Let's get out of that. I'm going to leave this open though. I might have a poke around with this in the morning if I wake up early enough, just to get that thing doing what it should. But yeah, basic idea. Just want that thing to be. Oh yeah. I'll just quickly do this. We just want this to be a graph node. And then we basically just want to have a connection from here to there. It's a little bit unusual. It's on the east. Is that because of the scaling on that connection point? Yes, it is because of the scaling on that connection point. So I think that means just do the same thing as I did before. Just copy that component. Just go paste component as new. And then we'll get rid of the sprite renderer from here. And let's just set that scale not to 0 to 1. Okay, and now just get this image and get it scaled up to 35. There. So now we should be able to move that around, and we're actually connected onto it. And then on the graph node, that should just be joined on up here somewhere. And wasn't quite imagining it like that, but that's interesting because it's sort of looks a bit like a cable that's a bit wound up. Then it's like ready to plug in, and then you go plug it in there. But on the other hand, maybe the the weight. 0.5. What do we get next? So maybe we just want 0.5 on both sides, both ends. That's a bit better. Something like that. There you go. So I've got the basic thing here. So that's just this thing. I've got to get drag and drop working on it, and then it can drag somewhere and just join on to something. If I lined it up like that, it wouldn't get the squiggly even with the 1.0 weight. Cool. I should put that on my sticky note. I'll definitely let you know as soon as I get it set up. And I feel like it'll be soon, but soon could be like more than a month, depending on how much free time I can make. It's a bit like this some kind of free time eating monster that just kind of hides in the shadows and eats any free time that I might otherwise have had, unless I make and protect my free time. All right, I better wrap this up, because otherwise I'll be here all night, and that's not so good for me, now that I'm not like 17 or something anymore. Oh. Yep, you too. Thanks for watching. I've been David. Oh yeah, if you want to play this game, just I think there's a link in the description, but I tend to put up my work in progress or Game Jam games on itch. So yeah, you can try them there. I won't put this one up right now because it's in a very similar state to before, except for this big thing here that doesn't do anything yet because I'm just playing around. But yeah, if there's any significant changes, I usually do a new build and push that up to itch straight after the stream. All right, good night. I'm going to press this button, otherwise I'll end up just talking all night.